Happy New Year, Orchard. As you know, with the coming of a new year, our thoughts turn to making new plans and goals and resolutions. And generally, those kinds of things are pretty positive in our lives. But as I mentioned in my last video, I think this year there may be a lot of us, because of the pandemic, that are feeling kind of stuck. It can feel hard to make plans and goals when there's still so much we can't do and when life is so uncertain. But you know what? One place, one area of our lives where the pandemic and its restrictions don't have to be a barrier for us is in our faith. God is always with us, and God is always at work in our lives, seeking to grow and form and transform us. Galatians 5:19 talks about how God is seeking to form Christ in us. Romans 12:1 talks about Jesus transforming and renewing our lives. 2 Corinthians 3:18 talks about God transforming us into Christ's image. So this is what God is seeking to do in us. But you know, it happens so much more and so much faster when we are working with God. And really, that's the goal, for us to partner with God in seeking to become really the amazing people that God has made us and called us to be. And so a question might be, well, what does that look like? What does the work of partnering with God really look like? And interestingly, the Bible in a number of places refers to it as training, using that word, training. In 1 Corinthians 9, Paul uses the image of a race to describe our spiritual life, and he kind of pictures us as runners or as athletes. And he says, look, if you want to run well, you need to go into training. If you want to do well in your spiritual life, you need to go into training. In Hebrews 5, the author there uses a different image. The image is of growing up from being infants to adults and growing into maturity. And he says in order for that to happen, children need to be trained up so they can learn and grow. And the same is true of us. If we want to grow in our spiritual life, we need to be trained up. So really, each of us needs to be involved in some kind of spiritual training. And I know in saying that, that might sound kind of complicated or scary or intense, but it's really not. It's really pretty simple, and it's really pretty easy. Because what spiritual training really is this. It's intentionally investing in your spiritual life on a daily basis. It's intentionally investing in your spiritual life on a daily basis. It's really that simple. It's really that easy. It's about spending time with God on a daily basis in prayer, reading the Bible, studying it. It's about, on a daily basis, seeking to live in the way that Jesus calls us to, seeking to treat others the way he calls us to, seeking to act in the way he calls us to, seeking to let Jesus factor into the decisions and the plans that we make. It means being a part of the church, which is Jesus' body here on earth, being connected to the worshiping life of the church, the fellowship life of the church, connected to it as we seek to do life together. And so it's intentionally investing in our spiritual lives on a daily basis in all of these different kinds of ways. So here's my question for each of us. How can we begin, or how can we step up our spiritual training in 2021?